My name's Michael Sears and I'm from Sealy's Walker Jarvis, an agent based in Gravesend in Kent. And with me today is Steve Lane from Robinson's. Okay, Steve, we're going to talk about the use classes order. And what are the use classes order and what do they provide?
Well, the use classes order is based on the Town and Country Planning Use Classes Order Act of 1987, which was really intended to control the use of commercial property, particularly in high streets and town centres. And that was brought in so that the local authorities could have a mix and control the mix of how the shops particularly were used in the high street. And that continued with a whole range of use classes that were permitted. The changes occurred in September 2020, mainly to support recovery from COVID. And the government brought in a relaxation of the use classes order, and what they basically have done is they've softened it and made it more flexible so that more units can be used for a higher sort of variety of uses without the delays and need for planning consent. So you've now got a situation where former shops that could only be used as shops can now be used as offices, cafes, coffee shops, etc. So there is far more versatility.
And with this new super use class, if you like, it's called the E class, what's included in that?
Well, the E-use class is a very broad business class. So you can now use commercial premises, as I say, particularly retail units, as shops, as offices. They can be used as coffee shops and restaurants, and a whole variety, including health, dentists, and other uses within those opportunities. The government have had the foresight to protect the neighbourhoods, particularly against nuisance. So there are some uses such as hot food takeaways that are excluded.
So all of these changes that came about, what falls outside of the E-class, this new super class? What else is there?
I think for ease of understanding it, it's probably better to consider that the E-class is mainly derived at shops. And therefore we've got this larger E-class which gives you the opportunities, as we've said, for cafes as well as retail, estate agency offices, etc. And then, of course, there are lots of uses that fall outside that. So we do have in industrial and commercial, we've got commercial sheds and warehouses. So there's a B group, a B class, and that has B2, which is for general industrial uses. There's a series, which we won't get into now, of B3 to B7. And again, that tends to be specialist industrial uses. B8s, which we probably know about as warehousing and distribution centres, so they're big sheds. And then there's a further grouping, which again, many of us, particularly in lettings and sales, are familiar with, and that's the C class, which is mainly residential. And within that, you'll have hotels, guest houses, main dwellings, and residential institutions. And then lastly, there is some more subgroups, F1 and F2, which are mainly focused on education uses.
Big changes, obviously, that happened. Are there positives? Are there negatives?
I think there's 85% positives. I think what it does do is give the high street flexibility. Yeah. It gives businesses flexibility that if they find a unit they think works for them, they can get into it. I think it's inevitable that it's a little too broad, and local authorities have lost some control. And it's probably fair to say they don't want 4 estate agents next to each other or 4 hot food takeaways. So I think it's inevitable there'll be some sharpening of the legislation in time. But I think in the current economy, it's too early for that. But overall, I think it's a jolly good measure.